Hello guys, today we are going to be talking about a 6-year-old named Otto Labinjo Hughes, who was born on the 4th of January 2014, and it was birthed by the family of Thomas Labinjo Hughes, who is the father, and Olivia Labinjo Akro, the mother. This is a boy who was brutally murdered and tortured, and you won't believe who actually did this crime. You won't actually believe what really happened to this boy. So please stay tuned. Author birthed by Thomas and Olivia. Yes, remember they have different last names. That was because they got separated when Otto was an infant. And after the separation, Olivia took her son rather, that is Otto, and they lived together. Now Olivia had a partner, we could say a boyfriend, and they were staying together not until February 2019. Olivia sadly was arrested for the murder of her partner. They were having a lot of domestic violence going on in the household, and finally it ended in murder, and Olivia was arrested for that, which brought Thomas into the picture. Thomas became the sole guardian of Otto, and after the arrest of Olivia the mother, he took up Otto and moved him back to his own place. And before Otto went to live with Thomas, Otto was a child who was quirky. He was always cheerful and happy. Now he moved to his father's home with a new school, new environment. He got into school, and yes, the grandma, that is Thomas' mother, noticed that the boy was a little bit shy, but with time he became used to the environment and became his cheerful self. And just like how a 5-year-old would be at the time in 2019, he was cheerful and he was happy. Now Thomas was single at this time. He was living in an annex behind his parents' compound, and he started to go into the internet, go into the dating life, and he met someone through the internet named Emma Thurston. Yes, Emma Thurston, they met and a relationship was formed. Otto was put into a new school. Remember, he came into a new environment. So in school, the teacher noticed, this boy was a very happy boy, very cheerful. Not until Thomas started dating Emma, and a teacher assistant got to know that Emma was very negligent when it comes to Otto's homework, comes to Otto's assignment, because at this time Thomas and Emma have formed a very strong relationship. So at times she will come to pick him up from school if he's at work and the rest. And the teacher noticed that Emma was very neglectful when it comes to Otto. And this was going on, not until Otto's uncle also noticed a change in this. Was Otto, who was very cheerful, was always very playful, but he noticed a change in the boy, and he noticed that this boy was always scared of being in trouble. He was scared of his dad, and he was concerned, and he spoke to Otto about it. And like, what's happening? He also noticed Otto being very strict. This was someone that was not really strict when he first brought in Otto into his life. Well, after he started dating Emma, he noticed that Thomas became very, very strict when it comes to Otto. He was extremely strict, and this didn't really sit well with the uncle. Now he got to a point in school, the teacher noticed that Otto became very obsessed with topics related to death, guns, even the news, and he was scared of his father killing him. And the teacher was surprised that a boy of this age, why is he so obsessed with such topic? She decided to call a teacher and parent meeting, and she invited Thomas and his grandma. So they both came, and she relayed this concern to them, and they took it up. Thomas, the father, decided to take the boy up to multiple hospitals, trying to check up if something was really wrong with this boy. And they went to several hospitals, they several medical checkups, and it was confirmed that Otto was mentally stable, Otto was mentally okay. So the father relaxed and was like, okay, there's nothing is actually wrong with my boy. There's no mental issue. The boy is good to go. Now, during that period of COVID 19, we all remember that period of COVID 19 where schools were shut down, there was national lockdown. Yes, that period, Thomas decided to go live with his partner. Remember Emma, who he met through the internet. Now, Emma Thurston had her own children, she had a boy and a girl. And Thomas was someone that also had his own son. So during this lockdown, he decided that okay, instead of me being at home alone during this lockdown, Thomas decided to go and stay with his partner in our own home. So he took Otto and they started living together. And believe me, all that was when Otto's misery began in full force. During this lockdown, people didn't really know what was happening in the household of Thomas and Emma. They thought it was just normal, regular family of a man who has his own kid and a woman who has her own children meeting and finding love. But something terrible was happening in the house. Otto, who was living with Emma, was being neglected, he was being maltreated, he was being tortured, and he was being starved. He was malnourished. It got to a point that Emma told Thomas that, okay, I love you, but I do not want your child. And this is coming from someone that has children of her own. Decided to be in a relationship, but doesn't want the baggage that comes with the man. And surprisingly, the man was okay. He was okay that, okay, I love you too, I will do anything for you. And that was when the torture began. It was said that in a home where everybody was eating, they will force Otto to stand at the far end of the kitchen and watch them while they eat. They will eat and not remain anything for Otto. If they were to even give him anything, it would be scrubs or something from the trash can, and they will ask him to eat from the trash. That he was an animal. He was neglected, he was starved, he was beaten severally. And this was going on. Remember, this was a lockdown, so it was just happening in the house and people were not noticing anything. And this was going on and going on for days, and Otto had nobody to tell. This torture was going on and on and on for days. It was said that they would make Otto stand at the hallway for hours, and if he misbehaves, he gets punished by being beaten. Emma would call him different swear words such as Satan, Hitler, the devil's child, weasel, and on and on. And when she beats this boy while he's crying, Emma will take up her phone, video him while he's crying. And if Thomas was not in the house, she would record this boy crying and be like, oh, there's nobody loves me in this world. You know, a child who is in anguish. After all of this, she records it, laughs at the boy, and sends it to the father. And wherever the father is, he watches it and also laughs. They were like making mock of this boy's misery. They were making mock of this boy's pain. And this is something that they were inflicting on him on a daily basis. And in April 2020, Thomas and Emma had a slight argument, and out of anger, he left the house, took Otto, and went to his grandma's house, that is his mother's house. And Otto, being a child that he is, at this time, Otto was 6 years. This was April 2020. He went to the grandma's house, and when on getting there, he told the grandma of all the things Emma was doing to him, how Emma puts him up, pin him on the wall, swears at him, beats him up. And the mother was like, are you sure? The grandma was, are you really certain of this and all of that? And she decided to check his body, and she saw a lot of bruises on this small boy's body, and she was alarmed. Okay, she started to confront the father. Confronting the father, Thomas was angry. He was mad at why would his mother be confronting him? This is his son, for goodness sakes, he could take care of his son. The mother shouldn't butt him and the rest. And that was the last day Otto saw his grandma. So he returned back to Emma's household and the torture began. Now, for the fear of Otto, the grandma was suspecting something suspicious was going on. Decided to call social service, and social service she told them about her concerns about Otto, and they went to Emma and Thomas' household. On getting there, unknowingly to the social worker, yeah, Emma had already coached her children, especially her son, to lie to the social worker that they were just fighting, boys being boys, were playing, and they had a fight, and that was how Otto got his bruises. She threatened her kids that if they don't lie, she was going to make sure that she no longer has custody of her children. So with that, who doesn't want to be with their mother? So these were children also. So when the social worker came, they asked her son, okay, what happened to this boy? And the boy told the same story his mother told him to say. And the social worker, looking at everything, decided and wrote down a statement and said Otto was safe and very happy in the home. And that was how the case ended. Grandma wasn't having any of it. Remember Otto's uncle, who also noticed the change in behavior in Otto and also in Thomas, wasn't also having any of it. Decided to take it up to the police, and this didn't even go anywhere because, according to the police, they said the social worker confirmed that Otto was happy, so there was nothing they could do. They just left it there, and this began. This was another part of Otto's misery. After the social worker left, Emma and Thomas were mad. They were angry at Otto for going on to telling on them. It was like, oh, you went to report. Okay. From June 12th to 14th, it was the most terrible time for Otto. June 8th, school reopened. June 8th of 2020, school reopened and everything. Okay, on the first day of attendance, Otto wasn't in school. Teacher called the father, Thomas, and Thomas was like, okay, he wasn't feeling too well. That's why he didn't come to school today. On several occasions, she kept calling the father, and the father kept giving her excuses upon excuses. Unknowingly to them, Otto was being maltreated to a point that when we were leaving the home, Emma and Thomas decided to get a camera. Just beating the boy wasn't enough anymore. They decided to get a camera to monitor his isolation because he was always kept in isolation. After the social worker left, they made sure that Otto doesn't step foot in the living room. And at night, they made sure that he sleeps in the living room on the floor. This is a 6-year-old, guys. He was made to sleep bare on the floor in the living room. Then during the day, when everybody, member of the family, are having visual activities, they are eating, they are watching TV, guess what, guys? Otto was forced to stay in the hallway watching them. He wasn't to step foot in the living room. Now, from June 12th to 14th, 35 hours of this boy's time, he was forced to stand all through in the hallway. This is someone that wasn't eating. This is a boy that was beaten severely, and he was made to stand for hours. The boy was tired. It didn't end there. On the 16th of June 2020, Emma decided to take this boy out to the salon where she was going to make her hair. And on getting there, at the entrance of the salon, she made Otto stand at the entrance of the door. And while she was making her hair, guys, she was swearing, she was angrily saying bad remarks about Otto and the rest. And the hair attendants were surprised that this is a small boy. Guess what, guys? She spent 6 hours in the salon, and throughout that 6 hours, Otto was standing throughout. He wasn't allowed to sit, he wasn't allowed to bend, he was forced to stand upright. And this is a boy of 6, guys. As we're listening to this story, just envision that this is a boy of 6 years old. To a point that one of the air attendants decided to sneakily give Otto water because she couldn't stand it. She couldn't stand the torture and the torment. And when she gave this boy water, the boy drank. Emma took him home. As he got home, Otto collapsed out of exhaustion and starvation. The father was also there, Thomas. They didn't help this boy. They just allowed him lay there. And when he finally woke up, remember, the hallway was his home, his toilet, his bathroom, his room. He was always on the hallway. Now, when he finally woke up from his faints, Emma wasn't having any of it. She was angry that he took water from one of the air attendants in the salon. And that was when, this was 16th of June, around 2:29 p.m., she angrily took Otto's head and banged his head severally on a very hard surface. And this whole incident lasted for 1 minute. And after banging this boy head multiple times on this hard surface, the boy fell to the ground. And she left him as usual. She left him there. 12 minutes later, she came back thinking this boy would be up. She noticed that he wasn't moving. She called Thomas. Oh yeah, Thomas, please call 999 so they can come and see what's wrong. Otto isn't moving. And they were laughing. And while the boy was lying there, guys, guess what Emma was doing? She was taking pictures of this lifeless boy. And she was laughing. After which the medic came in, they tried and they asked her, okay, what happened to the boy? She told them, oh, she started giving fake crocodile tears, telling them, oh, he was playing, he banged his head on a hard surface, and while he was coming down the staircase, he fell down and banged his head 5 times again. And the medics had to look at it, okay, the boy banged his head severally. He still came down the staircase and banged his head 5 times. Okay, they just kept quiet, but they knew that something was suspicious about her statement. So they rushed the boy to the hospital at first. But fortunately for Otto, Otto had an unsurvivable brain injury. The doctors tried everything they could for Otto, but later in the evening on that same day, on the 16th of June 2020, Otto died in the hospital. Yes, guys, he died. And when a professional reviewer came to look at Otto's body, she was scared. She was angry. She said she counted over 130 bruises on Otto's body, and the brain injury he had, it wasn't gotten from mere falling down the staircase. This was somebody that was intentionally banging his head on a hard surface, and they knew that this was an homicide. This wasn't an accident. This was something somebody intentionally did this to this boy, because the bruises alone on this boy's body were over 130. On that little small boy's body. And she compared the bruises to like torture, because she said these bruises were not like men, like a nail scratching your skin, or you hit your arm on a door and you got a bruise. No, this was something deeper. This was torture. And police arrested Thomas and Emma on that same day. And as they got arrested, they got their phones, they retrieved their phones, and there were hundreds of evidence against Emma and Thomas. Like hundreds of photos, videos, clips. And remember the camera they installed in the home to monitor his isolation? It backfired, because when they went through the CCTV, they saw the torture and the isolation firsthand. So they could not even deny it. There was no denial for this, because it was torture, it was neglect, it was maltreatment, and they stabbed this boy intentionally. This was a boy who was cheerful, he was happy with his mom. Now, due to some unfortunate incidents, he came to stay with his father, who was supposed to be his protector, his guardian, was someone who was torturing him. And with time, as the day went by, this quirky and cheerful boy became less and less unhappy. Not until for 1 full year, this boy was in torture, he was in torment, and he finally died on June 16th, 2020. After the arrest of both Thomas and Emma, Thomas was actually served for the murder of Otto, and she was given life imprisonment, and not until 21 years before she'll be up for possible parole. On the other hand, Thomas, the father, was given manslaughter, and he is to serve 24 years in jail. This is a very sad story. Till date, in Birmingham Stadium, in the children's section, they had to engrave author's name on the stadium as a show of respect to author, because this was a boy that went through so much. What do you all think about the story? I'd like to hear your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like this video.